in it. And I am more and more convinced that even though there is a special and significant day, that is today, where victory was proclaimed, it is the eternal reality that today, as every day, is the day of salvation. And there is a theological thought that every day I recognize that I am only saved. I am only in right relationship with God because of what a man did on a day. And at no day, on any day, should I forget that. As a matter of fact, if I'm honest, every day I have a reason to rejoice. Somebody said somewhere in the long ago, the redeemed of the Lord should say so. We will, in fact, rejoice over many things. We will get excited over much. But I wonder if we ever remain excited for the only thing that really matters, and that's the redemption of our soul. There may be a gift given to me that will cause me to get excited, and that's okay. That's okay. But I wake up every morning with a gift, and I just wonder, how excited do we become? Mercy is received by the first breath I take in the morning. As soon as I say, that's mercy. Contrary to popular belief that medicine that sits on your nightstand is not the reason you're living. I know what your doctor told you, but that's not why you're living. You're living because the Creator allows you to. That's His breath. You ought to thank Him. In the book of Hebrews, the chapter is 7. The chapter is 7. I want you to go there with me. I wrestle with this, and I want to put before you something, or at least I'm going to try to. As I read through this book, I began to become somewhat acquainted with its depth and how beautiful this document is and what it means for our eternal well-being. If we don't start thinking eternally, we're going to die. Now, I'm not just talking about your spirit leaving your body. Nobody can escape that. Nobody. But everybody can escape the second death. Jesus would say in John 8:51 to a Jewish audience, if a man will keep my word, he'll never taste death. He'll never die. And the Jews, purely thinking from a natural perspective, as many of us would, wait a minute. Our father Abraham died. The prophets died. You trying to say that if somebody listened to you, they won't die? Who are you? It's the question. Who do you make yourself? Says, listen, I'm not here to glorify myself. My Father does that. And you don't know Him, though you think you know Him. You see, your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day. Wait a minute, bruh. You're not even 50 years old and you know Abraham? Before Abraham was, I am. Why why do they take stones and try to kill him? Jesus has just communicated a message, a couple messages to them, several messages to be drawn. Not only does he argue for his eternal deity, he's God, but he also indicates that he is life. He is life. And I want to present to you a thought today, a couple of thoughts actually, from the text we're going to look in Hebrews 7. It's this: looking for life in all the wrong places. Looking for life in all the wrong places. Now, I want to ask you a question. Are you dying to live? Or are you living, waiting on death? Are you dying to live? Or are you living, just waiting on death? You know you're going to die, so do you just live your life in the meantime? I know I'm going to die. So YOLO, you only live once. I got to live my best life right. Right? So are you living just, wait, man, I'm going to live it up because, I got to get this done before I die? Or are you dying so that one day you may actually live? Because contrary to popular belief, we ain't living yet. Life is on the other side. So the text reads, and I'm going to seek to be as concise as I possibly can without engaging in too much of the depth that's here, because I've learned to stop trying to confuse you and try to inform you. There is much to be communicated within this text that we really need to wrestle and grasp with for us to understand the beauty that is presented within this text as it relates to the person, the high priest, who has an indestructible life, a life that he is willing to share with humanity if they learn to look for life in the right place. The Bible says this: the former priest, on the one hand, existed in great numbers because they were prevented by death from continuing. The text says, but Jesus, on the other hand, because he continues forever, holds his priesthood permanently. That's good stuff right there if you understand what he's already said. I'm going to try to help you see it, but that's good stuff if you understand what he's already said about this person. I'm going to try to give you some clarity. Therefore, this is why he is able to save forever those who draw near to God through him, since he always lives to make intercession for them. Since he always lives to make intercession for them. Let me put another thought on your heart, and I hope you consider it. May even write it down and take it with you and ponder on it. We should not entrust our lives to anything or anyone that has a death date. We should not entrust our lives to anyone or anything that has a death date. You have to analyze who it is and what it is you entrust yourself to. I have to consider there are people and there are things that will get all of me. Full disclosure, there are certain people I will give my life for. There are certain individuals I will spend my last for. There are certain individuals, there are certain things I will go to bat for. And there are certain people and certain things I can't live without. It is a dangerous reality for any human to entrust their lives, to pour their lives into something and to someone to a full extent that has a death date. There's beauty in this passage. I know I don't have the time to fully exhaust. I'm going to try to help you see it clearly, at least in thought. I would charge you to read it so that you may get it theologically. Here's the circumstance, if you will. Here is the reality. Brother Newhouse mentioned earlier, and it's actually disclosed within this text. Here is the reality. It is appointed unto all men once to die. And after this is the judgment. You will be evaluated by the standard of which I lived. Now, I must be mindful that what God is going to do through the person of Jesus is judge me according to the standard revealed. What do you mean the standard revealed? By the medium of his word. Jesus says that, John 12, 48, 49, 50, to individuals that were rejecting his person. John clearly discloses at the beginning of this gospel account, in him is life, and the life is the light of men. But he will also disclose in John 3 that there is 16, 17, 18, that there is an element in his communication to Nicodemus. There is an element that prefers darkness over light in life. They prefer something other than the life-giving source. And they will not come to him because what they love is not associated with him. Subsequently, what will happen to them, Jesus communicates their inevitable death. Not that you're going to leave your body, but that you will never meet God. And so, individuals, we have a tendency. Let's be just a little practical before we get into the text a little bit more thoroughly. We have a tendency to look for happiness. We look for that. It's in the human nature. And that's okay. That's okay. That's why Jesus would begin and using the terminology which will include happiness. It's not all inclusive to happiness. There's more to be considered when he says, blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those that mourn. Blessed are the meek. There is a path to that happiness. There is a path to peace. There is a path to joy. There is a path to stability. There is a path to security. There is a path to purpose. There is a path to perfection. But am I looking for those things in the right places? Am I looking for those desires in places, in peoples, and not the high priest? In other words, I am pursuing something or somebody that I am depending on to provide me stability. What is it? I am looking for happiness somewhere. Who is it? What is it? Something is going to trigger my joy. What is it that makes you excited? And am I looking for that stimulation in the wrong place? A place, let me be clear, and the Hebrew writer deals with this in Hebrews 11, where he talks about Moses and his refusal to embrace the sonship, if you will, of Pharaoh's daughter, refusing to embrace the pleasures of sin for a season. Don't miss that. It's for a season. At some point in time, you're going to get out the bed. It's all over. You done. Finish. Complete. But there is a place. There is a person to get the type of peace, joy, happiness, security, protection, purpose, and it keeps on feeding. And it's because it comes from a source that can't die. Let's just move on. He says, I want you to think with me even more. I'm being practical before I get into the text. Bear with me. This will make sense to us. If my job provides me financial security, not just financial security, it gives me a sense of stability. What happens to me when I'm laid off? See, for the Christian, my joy shouldn't change just because I lost my job. Because my joy ain't in my job. Now, that doesn't mean I don't have to go look. But I'm going to go look rejoicing because even though I've been laid off, I have not been disconnected. Did you get that? Even though I have been laid off, Jesus hadn't put me out. So though I may be looking, I'm still leaning. Though I may be putting in applications, I still got intimacy. See, the person that loses his mind when things go awry in life, that person is looking for life in the wrong place. Just walk with me. So let's look at this text. Let me see if I can be as clear as possible. There is the challenge and the charge of these Christians to not go back to Levi. Who's Levi? Levi is this Levitical priestly order we read about that God began with Aaron at the tribe of Levi. And so the Bible that helps us to see in chapter number 7 of Hebrews, matter of fact, all through the book of Hebrews, because he's building up a case, but he gets to the case more specifically in the book of Hebrews, in that he wants them to see a transition in history that takes place with three men, Melchizedek, Levi, and Jesus. This is why the depth is in here, that if you're not familiar with what else has been said, what else flows into this text, you will never appreciate what comes out when he begins to communicate this high priest that is able to fully, completely save you, purify you, make you whole, is because he has an indestructible life. And if I'm drinking from the well that is him, he empowers me with a happiness, with a joy, that a peace, that regardless of what happens in life, I still have life. And so he's making a case. He's making a case where in chapter 2 of this book, 2:5, he indicates that the angels have not been given the authority of the world to come whereof we speak. Let me be perfectly clear. The only thing God is concerned about giving you is heaven. Let me be clear. Whether or not you become a doctor is immaterial to God. Now, am I saying anything wrong with their pursuit? No. But if I need that to be made whole, I'm looking for life in the wrong place. Because eventually, I think Brother Gaskin would tell you, retirement is coming. It has a death date. You may eat off your retirement plan, and you may eat well. Brother Gaskin would tell you. But guess what? At some point in time, he's going to have to leave that last meal on his table. And somebody else going to eat that steak and lobster he left. But there is another meal. There is another table that is prepared for all of those who look to the right person for life. So the Hebrew writer is clear that there is a world to come over which nobody rules, over which nobody governs but Jesus. It's his. Y'all remember him saying that I go to prepare a place for you? It's his. And he wants you there. But he's not going to give it to anybody that's looking for life somewhere else and not him. This text is going to bring it out. Bear with me. I'm almost done. We're going to have to pick this up later because I really want to dig into this with you. So I'm just going to be more practical than I am theological today, but I want to set some tone. But because the point that the Hebrew writer is essentially making is this, is look here, to you Christians. You want to go back to Levi. Let me tell you why that's problematic. What does he say? He said, I want you to consider a man by the name of Melchizedek. This is chapter 7. I'm going to walk through this quickly so I can let you go. I want to take you to a man by the name of Melchizedek, or at least that's his name or either his position. We learn about him first in Genesis 14 when Abraham meets him. Abraham meets him after coming back from the war to rescue Lot. Abraham has a high level of respect for this individual, in so much that Abraham takes 10% of what he's gotten of the spoils of war and he gives to this man in offering form. That's indicative of a high respect for another person, something that would, and the Hebrew writer deals with this, something that will also be taken to the Levitical system. What does he say? Levi was of the sort. Levi received wages from people. He's making a point. He's making a point from the greater to the lesser to the preeminent. What are you doing? Melchizedek was great in so much that Abraham, the father of Levi, Levi's father, Abraham, paid tithes to a priest by the name or identity of Melchizedek. That man was great. He recognized that the victory that he won is ascribed to God. It's ascribed, the victory, don't miss that, the victory that I have just been a part of, the spoils of war that I have, they come because God was with us in the war. And so he has such a respect for God's priest that he takes 10% of the spoils spoils of war and he pours it at the feet of this priest. Great respect for this man. Don't miss it. He is willing to take of his victory, of his spoils from the victory. Here is a priest that Abraham regards with the highest esteem. And he takes his treasures and shares with him. But he said, now, this man, and again, we won't get in much into this, this man has a genealogy that we can't trace. Now, there's a point to be made that he's simply making the point that this Melchizedek has the type of priesthood that cannot be calculated. And what do you mean? You can't go back and check his history. You don't know anything about this individual, but he's making a point. He's making a point. You can't trace his arrival. You cannot trace his departure. That's important when we get to the high priest Jesus. But Levi, you know where he come from. You know where he comes from. God selected him. God chose him. And guess what? There was a line of them that kept dying. They 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 kept dying. What's powerful about this? See, and again, I'm a hurry. We'll get to the more detail. See, here's you can't count Melchizedek's history, but you can count Levi's. Not only can you count Levi's history, you can also count his sin. That's important. That's important. You shouldn't entrust your life to anybody that got the same problem as you. Sin. You need that. You shouldn't entrust your soul to anybody that needs the same blood as you need. Shouldn't do it. What do they want? They want to go back to Levi. Let me tell you about Levi. So I'm going to tell you about Levi's problem. Jesus. Right? Your daddy needs the same Jesus as you do. So don't give your daddy no more respect than God tells you to give him. But don't entrust your soul to your daddy, because your daddy has a death date. And your daddy needs to connect to the one that has an indestructible life, because he's destructible. Am I making any sense? See, we'll fight tooth and nails for certain people, man, for certain things. But man, when it comes to fighting for Jesus, well, you being too judgmental. You being too harsh. But clown, I just saw you drag somebody's hair across the floor because of your mama. And she gonna leave here. And if she hadn't met Jesus and she hadn't given you Jesus, both of y'all got a Jesus problem. See, we're looking for all of this happiness and security and peace and stability and prosperity and purpose everywhere else but what we should be looking. So what do you say, Hebrew writer? Y'all want to go at Levi. Let me tell you about Levi. See, Levi not only had to go in and offer sacrifices for your sin, he had to deal with his own too. So do you Hebrew Christians, you got a sin problem. Levi was given an order of a priesthood, but let me tell you about the about the shortness of that priesthood. Man, you actually got a priest that got a sin problem. Even though I let him offer up sacrifices for you, he got to deal with his sin problem also. And that's who you want to give your life to? That's where you want to go back to? You want to entrust your religious affiliation to a body of people that couldn't even save themselves? Right? Right? Y'all see all this? It's in the text. Y'all go read it. I'm just kind of walking through it. But if you read that text slowly, it's in there. It's all in there. That's his point. That's his point. So he says, wait a minute. Let me say. He said, listen. In verse number 15. And I'm picking this up in the middle of a context. And this is clearer still. If another priest arises according to the likeness of Melchizedek, who has become not on the basis of a law of physical requirements, but according to the power of an indestructible life. For it is attested of him, you are a priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek. Man, this is, I ain't got time. Listen. See if I can't bring this home. And I'm going to let you have it. In chapter 6, he begins to make this argument for this oath that God made. When he made a promise to Abraham. Now, what he says, and I can take you to Exodus 22 and show you this. When men make oaths to other men, they do it on the head of another who's greater than them. In other words, I'm going to make an oath with you, and I'm going to make this oath with you predicated on the faithfulness of God. Exodus 22. So how can I trust you? You can trust me because God is faithful and I embody his faithfulness. So I'm swearing I'm making an oath by God so you can trust me because God is faithful and I'm just as faithful as God. I'm going to keep this covenant. That's the thought. That's the thought there. That's the thought there. So that the word can be established. But here's the reality. As genuine and sincere that you may be at the time you make that oath, there is some unfaithfulness in you that's likely to arise. You with me? So, as a human being, you are not fully and completely faithful. There is the chance of failure in you. We should get this. The one or the thing you trust, if there is any possibility of unfaithfulness in that person or that thing, I don't need to be looking for life in it. You learn stuff about people years down the road that you didn't know was there, and everything goes into shambles. You know why? Because you were trusting that person to provide you something, not anticipating that there is some unfaithfulness there. And my whole life is torn apart because I have entrusted my soul, my body, my spirit, my heart, my all to this person. 10 years later, I never knew that about her. You ain't never got to worry about ever finding anything in Jesus that's going to hurt you. Ever. You will never find anything in Jesus that is going to hurt you. Ever. That's the only person you can look to and always know this man will never hurt me. You can't get that out of anybody else. It's making sense. So God, when he made a promise to Abraham, he made it with an oath. But here's what he couldn't do. Here's what he couldn't do. He couldn't find a man that he can trust to be fully faithful. So what did he do? He made an oath by his own head. Man, that gets beautiful when we get into chapter number 7. Because when he selected the Levitical tribe, he didn't give an unchangeable oath. How can I make that clear? God made an oath and put it on his own head because what he said was sure and certain and was not going to change. He's not going to make an oath and put it on the head of somebody that's changeable. So when he selected Levi, he knew them guys gonna die. He knew them guys got their own sin. He knew there was going to be an element that's going to rise that I can't. Nadab and Abihu, y'all know him. Y'all know him. God just gave the order as to what to offer him. Just gave the order, right? Them knuckleheads just a couple of days later want to go into God's temple and give him what he didn't ask for. We have a burning memorial. You done chose priests that are men. But in those men, it's some unfaithfulness and some infidelity, as it is in every man. And so this is kind of the breakdown, if you will. So he brings up Melchizedek, he brings up Levi. Man, do you really want Levi? You can't trust him. You can't trust him to give you an indestructible life, but you can trust the one who has an indestructible life to give it to you. You can't trust Levi. What's interesting is the Levitical system was God's religious system. He would say, actually, within this text, man, this is powerful to me. There was nothing wrong with the law that he gave. It was everything wrong with the people. Listen, God gave a system of law. Paul said it's good. Romans 7. The system he gave was good. But what do you say, God? It's not the law, it's them. It's the people. Don't give your life, your soul, your mind, your body, your heart. Don't look for things heavenly in an earthly vessel or an earthly person or an earthly thing that has a death date. You are subject to being let down. So let me finish. Let me just take some from the text. So he says, verse number 17, for it is attested of him, you are a priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek. For on the one hand, there is a setting aside of a former commandment because of its weaknesses and uselessness, for the law made nothing perfect. On the other hand, there is a bringing in of a better hope through which we draw near to God, and insomuch as it was not without an oath. For they indeed became priests without an oath. I want you need that. They became priests. Who was they? The Levitical system. But when God made the oath to Jesus, he knew that he can trust him. So you kind of got to get that. God ain't swearing by the head of nobody wherein there is unfaithfulness. He's not putting his reputation on the line for anybody that has in them the possibility of failure. He's not going to do it. If he doesn't do it, why do we? What did you, God, what and who did you put your trust in to make an indestructible life possible? I chose my son, who I'm going to make a high priest. I wasn't going to choose another man. Nobody else was capable. I am not banking my reputation. I am not banking life. I am not banking the salvation of humanity on a man that I can't trust. If God is not going to put the life of humanity in the hands of one wherein there is unfaithfulness, why in the world do we? This makes sense? I'm going to swear on the head of my son to provide life, peace, salvation, redemption, because I can trust him. Why can't you trust him? Because he's indestructible. Now some are asking, but Jesus died, didn't he? Well, did he? How do you define death? Did Jesus die the third day? Indeed he did. Did he resurrect from death? Sure he did. But how do you define death? See, the eternal word entered the body. He didn't begin when he entered the body. This is life eternal. He is life eternal. He is the cause of all things, because by him were all things made, whether in the heavens, whether on the earth, whether thrones or dominion, principalities and powers, all things were made by him and for him. He is life. And when he entered the human vessel, that didn't change. And when he exited the human vessel, he did not go out of existence. He went to Hades. And as death tried to wrestle with him and tried to imprison him, it couldn't hold him. It couldn't hold him. Don't you want to give your life to somebody that death can't control? Or will we be the kind of folk that continue to entrust our lives to those that have death dates? Let me close. We'll pick this back up. Are you looking for life in all the wrong places? And nobody, nothing that has a destructible life can provide it. But Jesus did say, if you come to me and you listen to me, I'll give you life. You don't ever have to taste death. You don't ever have to taste death. I didn't get to where I wanted to get, but we will. We will. Am I looking for life in all the right places? Where you looking for? Where are you trying to find security? Peace, sanity, stability, hope. What makes you feel good? What excites you? And when you answer those questions, you will then find out where your life is. And then ask the question, is it in the indestructible one? Or am I looking for it in all the wrong places? Are you living to die? Are you dying to live? What do you mean? Let's explain again. Dying to live. I'm dead now, Colossians 3, while I'm waiting on my Lord to give me life eternal as I live for him now. But I'm going to live my best life before I die. I'm only living to die. with no hope thereafter. If you're here, we want to encourage you to consider your pursuit, to consider what you're looking for. Did you come today because you're looking for Jesus and a closer, more intimate, personal relationship with him? Or did you come today just merely because it was church day? It's church day, right? We go to church on Sunday. That's what we do. It's church day. That's it. I feel good about church day because that's where I find my I can be comforted in my spirit knowing I go to church. It makes me feel good. I ain't concerned about getting closer to Christ. I'm just concerned about getting to church so I can feel good about going to church. That Jesus stuff can wait. It'll wait till next Sunday. And the next Sunday. And the next Sunday. Then I take a vacation. It'll be Christmas. It'll be another holiday. Then I come back to church. God forgive me for not being with the family. Right? Now I feel good. So consider your soul. If you're here and you have not obeyed the gospel, we want to encourage you to do so. You obey the gospel by hearing the good news, the gospel of Jesus Christ, believing it, being willing to repent, and being immersed with him in the waters of baptism. Because at that point in time, he gives you a new life. It's at that point in time you must make a decision that I'm going to continue to pursue the one that gives me life. Abraham respected Melchizedek so much that he gave him the spoils of victory. That's how much respect he had for Melchizedek. I'm going to give you some of what we won. How much more respect should we have for Jesus when the victory that we embrace, we didn't even win it. He gives it to us. And he gives us all of his inheritance. And he asks us for one thing: our life. Life for life. That's it. That's it. Life for life. What am I doing this for? Because over here, I got something better. Think about your soul and its salvation as we together stand and sing.
Pass me not.